Welcome everybody to Huddle. When we started Huddle over 12 weeks ago, the intent was to keep our QLI family connected so that we could not only learn, but also celebrate despite COVID-19, creating an artificial divide between and within our campuses. Over that time, many things have transpired that we at QLI have been able to conquer and be proud for. We're still holding strong and keeping our residents safe and healthy. We've been very relentless. The purpose of today is to learn and connect. The celebrate part is a bit on hold for this Huddle. Around the world, there have been incensed uprisings, unrest sparked by the senseless killing of George Floyd. Personally, I felt angry, afraid, sad, confused, and I know I'm not alone. It has helped me to gain understanding and direction by seeking out a very wise person who has experienced much more than anyone I know in my social circle. Someone full of experience and wisdom. That person is our very own Rudy Lyons. I'm proud that Rudy's sharing his story, perspective, and lessons for Huddle today. Rudy, thank you for giving us your time and giving us a glimpse of the past and your perspective of hope from your lens. Thanks for joining us today. I'm going to ask everybody to just keep um, uh, their mics on mute. And if you have to, if you want to ask a question, just for Rudy to address later on, just type it in the chat. But we won't be using the chat as we usually do, just back and forth. We want everybody to be just attentive today and just listen to Rudy and him sharing the perspective of, what's happened in the country and, what's going on today, just according to his lens. Rudy has really, really been helpful in giving us, at least myself, some perspective of the past. Rudy, can I ask a little bit of information about maybe where you grew up and your life, and um, who is Rudy Lyons?
First of all, to the viewers, I want you guys to know that I didn't volunteer to do this. And he threatened me with losing my job if I didn't. I'm only kidding. I'm glad to be here tonight with you. I grew up, I was born in Petersburg, Virginia. It's a small town about 20 miles south of Richmond, Virginia. 4 brothers, 4 sisters. Population of the city was about 30,000 people. About over 60% white people live there, and less than 40% blacks. It was strictly a segregated city. We live. It's kind of funny. We lived like it was 2 sections of the city: the bottom and the height. Height, the height. All the white people live up on the height. That was the rich part of town, where the big houses were, the big stores, and where they all live. We live on the bottom, where there was hardly no stores in the regular part of town, I guess you should say. They call it the ghetto, I guess. But we were happy. We never even thought about being poor or anything like that. We played together and just had fun. And my mother raised 8 kids in a three-room house. And
you said 3 rooms?
3-bedroom house. 3-bedroom house, 8 kids. I don't know how she did it. We never thought about it. We,
just
lived there. But we made our own fun, playing games. And that time there was no that. We just made our own fun. Most of our fun was down at the riverside. It was Appomattox River. We'd go down there to swim and play games, throw rocks. Just made our own fun.
Mm-hmm.
The highlight of our week was Wednesday in the evening, 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. We'd go down to the river where the Ku Klux Klan held their rallies their meetings place. That was their meeting place. That was fun to see them out there on their horses and white sheets on their heads, and some of the
Said that
horses
was
had
fun.
white sheets, and burning the big cross and planning their agenda for that weekend. We thought it was fun. We
You
hid in the bushes and watching them, and we did it every Wednesday night. It was just fun. That's what we did things, So, so what else you need to know about my childhood?
Well, I know you pretty much you said you didn't have organized sports, but your basketball team growing up
Oh,
was
that was to come. We At that time we were about when we were doing those things. I was about 11 years old.
okay.
11 years old.
My
So
son's age.
yeah, but we played street ball, through the ball, and stick ball we call it back then, and played basketball at the courts. We didn't have any indoor sports or anything like that. We played ball on the playground. That's where I learned to play basketball at. And I started loving the game so much. That's all I did after 12 years old. That was all I was doing, playing basketball. And got to be pretty good at it in high school. Actually, in elementary school is when I developed. And I was drafted up from the elementary school up into the high school team to play. We had a good team. We were a strong team. We played all at my junior year of school was the time we had the best team. We won 30 straight games. We played the colleges around Petersburg. I mean, the high school played colleges, and we beat those colleges. And we were talking. That's all you heard with those boys at Peabody High could play some ball.
Yep.
So that year we won the district, and was invited to the Negro National Invitation Tournament in Tennessee. And all the transportation we had down there to get there was cars. So we traveled from Petersburg, which is a long ways to Tennessee, in cars. The tournament was that night at 7 o'clock. We got there about 5 o'clock in the evening and had to play like
2 hours later.
2
You had to be
hours
warmed
later.
up and ready to play.
Yeah, so we got beat pretty bad. That's the only game we ever lost.
The only game you ever lost. For those who don't know, Rudy's not a slouch himself. He has records that stood at his high school in Petersburg until one maybe okay player by the name of Moses Malone came and broke those records. But Rudy is no slouch. I think you shared a few stories about how your record that stood the test of time until a great NBA player had to break them.
Yeah, I won I'll just tell you about the record. I scored like 43 points in one game. And that record stood for what I think. Moses Malone came along about 5 years after me, 5-6 years after I did. And he broke the record, my record score.
Yeah.
So, but I don't talk a lot about that. The things that I did.
People like to know. People like to know. And so just wondering a little bit about a few things. I think you said that around that time, you ended up with some of the things when it comes to civil rights, and sitting in some protests, if you want to call it that. And I remember I asked you the question on is any similarities in what you lived when it comes to the civil rights era and what we're seeing right now with the Black Lives Matter movement?
Yeah, it's similar. It seems like it's just a different protest. I'll put it this way: Black Lives Matter to me was strictly protesting and demonstrating against police brutality. That's what our fight is right now. During my protesting days and demonstration days, were strictly against segregation and discrimination against Black people. So same thing, but just different, different times.
Okay.
I first got involved with the civil rights movement about 16 years old. 15, and and I think what got me involved and made me know that I had to do something was one day my mother took my sister, two of my sisters and myself downtown, do some shopping. So we got on the bus, walked to the middle part of the bus. Plenty of seats was in the front, but we walked to the middle part because we knew that we shouldn't sit in the front of the bus. But we thought it was okay, or my mother thought it was okay to sit in the middle. We sat down. Bus driver came back and told us we need to get up. There's plenty of room to stand in the back of the bus. And I could see in my mother's eyes how she felt. But she was respectable. She got up and said, "Okay, sir, I'm sorry." We got up and stood in the back of the bus. So then I just kind of saw that I need to just kind of get involved with that some kind of way. So I guess 3 years, 4 years, 2 or 3 years from there, it was the bus boycott of the buses started. And I saw an opportunity to get involved with something. So I was part of the picketing bus boycott, organizing some things for us boycott for the buses.
So you were boycotting the around that time. What time of the century was that?
That was about 55.
1955.
1955.
What's your keys? Yeah.
1955, we started really getting into boycotting the buses.
Okay.
We, it was organized by Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King. He was the organizer of the boycott.
The boycotts, yeah.
But we had our our demonstration in Petersburg. And what we did for 381 days, we didn't ride the buses. That was the demonstration we did. I mean, we didn't stop. We didn't, every day, nobody rode the buses for 381 days.
You walked where you were going to go.
Everybody walked to work. I remember seeing my mother and father walking to work. They had 2 jobs. They walked to one job and work. In the evening, they walked to another job. People carpool. There are ministers at the church would take people to work and to the stores, and everybody, it was just organized. But we never got on the bus for 381 days.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's one thing that I would hope to see in this demonstration of Black Lives Matter, that they would follow suit to that. It's to continue and don't stop because of promises. Don't stop until it's changed, until you see a law that's saying you can't do this or you can't do that,
So continue fighting until
continue fighting. That's it. You can't quit. I mean, sometime after the demonstration and the picketing and the marching and stuff, you do it for 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then the policymakers tell you that, well, we're going to look into that. We're going to do that.
Is that what happened at the time? You had promises, but there was nothing in writing?
What's that? I'm sorry.
No.
I thought I turned my phone.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
No, back then, we didn't take promises. Like I said, we kept on doing what we had planned to do until policies would change.
I got it.
And here, I don't see that in demonstration. This time, these demonstrations of the day are done for a certain amount of time, and then it's stopped.
And you did it for over a year.
We did that for 381 days.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about maybe some of the things that you were also fighting for, because I know that not only did you end up serving in the military later on, but then, there was something that I found to be rather, promising and maybe something that was of note, when it comes to your military service, but not even having had your parents being able to vote when you were serving for the country.
Well, yes, I was involved in a couple of sit-ins and things like that during my time before I went into service.
Okay.
because we was not allowed to vote. We were not allowed to eat at certain places. We could work there, but we couldn't eat there.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember you told me the story of your sister at Woolworths.
yeah, Woodwork was one of the main. That was a large chain of large chain of department stores, and they had lunch counters in their places. My sister that worked there, she was like over the waitresses at the lunch counter. She was like a supervisor, so. But she was not. They were not even able to eat there. They had to bring their lunch and eat in
So
the
they
back
cooked for
room.
everybody, but
But they
couldn't
cooked
even
for everybody, and we could go in there and shop. All our money was spent there,
you could leave your money there.
but we could not eat there. So we didn't think that was right. So some 4 kids, I think, in North Carolina started the sit-ins.
Greensboro 4.
Greenboro, North Carolina.
What's your keys?
I'm sorry. Greenboro, North Carolina. They were called the 4A
Greens.
and T. Was it 4A and T? I think it is.
Yeah.
And they started the sitting because they went in and ordered coffee and was not allowed to have coffee there. So they sit there, didn't move for the whole day. And then in the next week or so, we were selected in Petersburg to open up a training center to train us how to sit in nonviolently. That was the main goal of Martin Luther King, nonviolent. So that kind of was a big turnaround for us. We were trained to sit there and take whatever abuse that white people would give us, and there was a lot of it. I was fortunate enough to be in about 3 of them, to sit in at 3 of them. And I remember the times that they would blow smoke in your ears and pour pop on your back and punch you on the side with their thumbs and just do all kinds of
And
harassment.
your training was for you to learn
Just
how
sit
to
there,
subdue,
yes.
to take it,
Just take it and
to
just sit
withstand it.
there and not do anything. If it got so bad for you that you couldn't handle it, you leave, another one of us will come there and sit there in that spot. So those counters were sit in for the whole time they were open. We had shifts of going in and sit in.
I find
Uh,
it odd that you said back, a couple of things on that. You said you were able to go and leave your money there. So as a patron, you could go and shop there,
yeah,
but you were not
allowed to
equally
eat there.
enough to eat there.
Yeah,
That's one important thing.
yeah,
And your sister worked there, but she cooked there and
yeah,
was not even able to have any food
yeah.
there. And then the second thing, the other thing that you talked about was, your training was to take it and
Yeah,
sit there
yeah,
without.
yeah. We were trained to do that. We went through role playing to demonstrate the right way to not fight back. We were taught not to fight back. That was it. You know, it was different from today's protesting. You see a lot of the protesters out there throwing rocks and throwing bottles and stuff like that. That was not done back in those days. That was just peaceful protesting.
Mhm.
So some got arrested. I never did go to jail because they were courteous enough to let us know that tonight protesters, there might be some jail for a time if you protest. But we didn't stop. But I didn't go there in those days to protest. I never want to go to jail.
So you at least had some insider information from
Yeah,
your
we had
sister,
some, yeah,
knowing
yeah,
today they're resting, so you didn't go, and when they went to rescue, you'd go and make a stand. Something that you told me, I think I asked you about. Okay, so you were trained to take it, and you shared a story about the fire hose.
yeah.
You want to
That
share a
was
little bit?
that was that was during those fire hoses came mostly during the library sit-ins because after we finished our sit-in at the lunch counter, we went next to the libraries because we couldn't go in the library. We didn't have libraries, all just strictly for white. So they were bringing in the dogs, and because we would do a circle around the building of picketing, walking around
Mm-hmm.
in front of the place
Mm-hmm.
and kind of blocking it more or less. So keep people from going in or causing disturbance. So they would bring out the dogs and the fire hose and sick the dogs on us. They bring them up to you. And I mean, I'm sure they bit some people, but I never let them get that close to me. And the fire hose, I did get hit
Smart
one
ass.
time with the fire hose, and that hurt. I mean, that's yeah. It's just like a water hose. You've been hit with a water hose.
I've seen what a fire hose can
Yeah.
do
Well, just imagine a fire hose, that much water
on
just coming in.
on the body.
It'll knock you down, So yeah, I was unfortunate to get hit by that, but yeah, they use that kind of enforcement on us.
But you also did not give up until
No,
the library was
no,
desegregated.
we followed through. We got our motto was to get the job done. We started a project and we did not stop until we got it done. Did the same thing with the Civil Rights Voting Act. We did demonstration at the federal offices and did some blocking of the entryways, and we did all kinds of things to bring attention to that Voting Right Act.
What year was that? In the 60s?
64, maybe?
Yeah.
64, yeah. And that was signed.
How old were your parents around 64?
Oh, you got me thinking now.
40s, 50s, 60s?
They 50, 60s, 50 probably. Yeah.
So they were in their 50s,
Yeah.
and they hadn't voted yet.
No, they never voted. Yeah. They didn't get, they got to vote, but never, before the voting act, they couldn't vote,
Got it. Yeah. How old were you when you cast your first ballot?
I was in the Air Force then, about 21 maybe. I voted for Kennedy.
Got it.
Kennedy, yeah. That was my first president.
Yeah. Didn't last that long, I guess.
No.
Yeah. You had a pretty good stint in the military.
Yeah.
How was that, being in the military?
Well, my intention was to go to college. I had some offers at actually I had quite a few offers to go to college. And two of my friends, both of us that were on the team, all three of us had offers to go to a certain school that we was going to go to, which was in Richmond. But my two friends were out celebrating one night too much and was killed in an accident.
Oh, your friends got killed?
Killed in a car accident, which kind of really changed my life there, because I lost those guys that I grew up from grade school on through, and we were like brothers. So I just decided not to go to school and join the service. Just like that.
They were going to go to college with you?
We were going to all three of us going to the same school, college.
Wow.
Basketball scholarship.
They were your peers when you played basketball in that undefeated season.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we were excited about going to college and everything. So when they got killed, I kind of lost my enthusiasm about going to school. I didn't want to go by myself, and my parents was kind of upset with me because I'd made the decision to go right into the military just like that,
Why the military?
I don't know. I just wanted to get away from Petersburg.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be around Petersburg. Brothers, they tried to talk me out of it. I think it was the best choice, but it was done. In the military, was not like I thought it would be. I think I was a little lucky because I played basketball, and I got a little more privileges because I played on the base team, and I got to travel and to do things other Black soldiers couldn't do. It was segregated. It was supposed to be integrated, but it was segregated. We couldn't go
This was post-segregation, but the military was still segregated.
Military was segregated. It had been integrated by Harry Truman.
Okay.
Integrated the service, military.
But it was still within.
But it was still with.
How so?
Because we wasn't allowed to go to certain places on base. We had to colored USO.
So like
That was a place,
commissary.
commissary, like it was for color. That's where we had to shop at,
Okay.
and they had their white people had their area to shop at. Uh, certain night of the movie, certain night of the week, we could go to the movie, and you know, they kept us separated quite a bit. We did all live in the same barracks. Our living quarters were all together, but we didn't share the same rooms. Like my roommate was black and white roommate was white. So I saw that part of the segregation or the discrimination in the military. But like I say, I was played basketball, so I had a lot of traveling, and I got through that, and I didn't want to stay in the military. I got out of there right away.
How many
After
years was that?
4 years.
I see.
4 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of the demonstration of the day is so much different from the uh, civil rights movement demonstration because are not following through with what they're starting.
You feel that they just get started but don't end.
Yes, right. I think with this movement, this time, I have hopes for it because I can see when you look out there and you see mostly white people demonstrating than blacks, I think that knee on uh,
Floyd.
George Floyd's neck made white people's eyes open and said, it's truly enough is enough. And they want to help. So by them coming out and trying to seeing what's happening and understanding and speaking out, I think it's a little bit different. This movement is different, but
Yeah.
you can't stop the protesting. You got to keep going
Until true change is effected.
until a law, policies are changed.
So coming from Zimbabwe, I was closer to the South African plight when it comes to apartheid. And I don't think there was much change over the years of apartheid in South Africa until it reached what at least then they called critical mass,
Yes.
when it comes to United States was lobbying and telling South Africa that enough was enough. There were other countries around the world that were standing up for the justice
Correct.
and saying we cannot continue to have this continue to happen. And right now, we've had a lot of people around the world stand up.
Correct.
So I had a few people come and ask me, just asking, what can I do to help? Or how do I, what can I do is what they've asked. And because people who don't know, they've been ignorant to the cause, of what's happening right now. They've been ignorant to the blight of people getting killed at the hands of people who are supposed to be protective of them. And they've asked, what do I do? And I have, really talked about you should educate yourself. You should look out for resources. And we've been sharing a lot of resources within QLI for people to understand what Black people have been going through in the United States for too long. It's been centuries since slavery, and I think it emanates from some of those times. I'm not from here, but I've had to educate myself, even though I might look like the next Black person. I'm not from here. I've only been in this country for 20 years. And so what do you tell people? I've told people to educate themselves. What's your advice to someone who wants to help?
Well, you're right. That's the main thing to educate yourself about, and take a look back at what we've been through. Just look at what we've been through, and where we're at now. That a lot of things is not much different. We're still being discriminated against, and I think not all white people, but I think a lot of white people don't even care. It's not affecting them at all. So I think they need to just look at look at how the police brutality is affecting us, and just kind of imagine your daughter's or your
Mm,
son
mm.
head under a police officer's knee. He just said, that could be my son. You need to
For 9 minutes until they're dead.
9 minutes and calling out his mama for his mama.
His dead mom.
His dead mama. Yeah. So I think if we can't get more empathy and compassion from people now that to help out and to speak up, it's not, they don't have a heart. They don't have
So
a heart.
people have to speak up, is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
I was encouraged with the letter that Pat put out to us, that email letter, and because first of all, power is can be dangerous because it's the ability to influence and to direct behavior of others, and you can use that to influence your people or your friends or your family to just to do the right thing. And we have a lot of leadership now in offices that using their power the wrong way to influence people to do things wrong and direct them in different directions that can hurt us rather than help us.
So what
So,
is it to use your power wisely? I mean, how would you say someone has to be using their power wisely?
well, just to talk about it, speak out, say how you feel, um, vote, uh, uh, just your power to be able to influence people that work for you, to talk up. Um, she was genuine, sincere about how she felt about systematic policies and things
Who's
like
that?
that. Pat, when she
Pat
put that letter
Pat
out to
Kearns?
us, and I was proud of it. I thought that that's the kind of leadership we need in high offices, high
Hmm.
offices.
Hmm.
That if you speak up against what's happening, some people in higher powers have not acknowledged George Floyd death yet.
They
They
haven't said his name
haven't
right.
said anything about it.
How did that
So
make you feel?
it hurts. It's it's just you can't understand it. You just can't understand it. Some it can bring tears to your eyes just to think about it.
Yeah, it
That
does.
to be treated that way. And your leadership don't even acknowledge it. They act like it's just another day. You know. So yeah, we need to continue to work together, continue to protest nonviolently. I'm not for the looting and all that. I've never been a part of that. We need to speak to our kids, bring them up the right way. A lot of this racial behavior can come from the parent not
No,
education their
nobody's born a
kids.
racist. Nobody's born a racist.
No, it's
Yeah.
taught. It's taught. I I had an incident long time ago. I put it that way. Here, long time ago when I first got here. All sad, and I don't think she's here no more. But this girl that brought her kid to work with her, maybe for shots or something, because it was in the back hallway. And she saw me and she spoke, "How you doing, Rudy?" I said, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "Oh, how do you these cute kids?" You know. She said, "This is Mr. Rudy." Talk to her kids.
Hmm.
And say hello to Mr. Rudy. And the kid looked at me and said, "He's black."
Oh my goodness.
And
Oh my goodness.
I just I didn't pay any attention. I paid attention, but I just
Out
kind
of
of
the mouths
overlooked
of
it.
babes.
So to me, I think that's taught in the home, you know, to,
And maybe she was just saying out of observation, but you never know what
you
she
know,
meant, right?
I don't think a kid don't know a color.
Right.
I don't really believe that
Yeah.
unless you tell them that, teach them that. But getting back to that, I think it's just a matter of learning and still protesting and working together.
What happens if you? What are the consequences of misusing your power?
Well, that's it. Constantly you teaching the wrong way, teaching the wrong way. I mean, not telling kids what's happening. You know, like the leadership we got now up there in Washington, that's misusing the power. You know, that's all I can say about that.
No. Somebody asked a question on why was it 381 days, and I know you said something about we did not stop until we got the job done, and that seems like the
Okay.
attitude you
Okay.
bring even to QLI.
Yeah.
You don't stop
Well,
until the
well,
job is done.
the
So
reason why I said the boycott started in July. I can't remember the dates, and it went on for 381 days until a law was signed. That's how long it took the law to pass. That segregation of buses was to stop integration. So it was 381 days marched.
until it stopped.
Happened.
Okay, so that was the reason why it was 381 days.
Now we were promised that they were going to integrate the buses way before that, but we didn't stop. We didn't stop until the bill was signed, which was 381 days.
Got it.
Yeah.
How did word get out? I know Kristen Custer asked that question, because nowadays it's Twitter, it's Facebook, we have a rally here.
Today it gets out with the media, that's all you got to do.
I'm talking about like if you wanted to demonstrate and protest, how did you?
In those days, it was just by word of mouth and by flyers. We'd print flyers, we draw flyers and put them on different poles around the city and things like that. It was strictly by flyers and word of mouth. We didn't have any radio time or anything like that. And church meetings, and we have church meetings, and because we only had a couple of black churches, and we had three black churches, three black churches, and we would have church meetings, and everybody would come. In those days, we would get the messages out that way.
Got it. I talked about South Africa and having critical mass of people being able to make changes.
Yeah.
When you're looking at the United States and the word going around and people all over the world demonstrating and protesting in their own countries, it ought to give me a little bit of hope to say, okay, are we reaching that critical mass? Do you have hope for the future?
Yeah.
Do you think things are going to change?
With this critical mass, this has never happened before in the United States. All over the world sees this.
Yeah.
I mean, they got a statue, I think I forget where it was. My wife told me
England.
Of George Floyd.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
they just did some kind of a monument for him over in, I think it was France, maybe. I'm not sure. But everybody know what's happening here. And I have good hope. This is a good feeling right now about our future. I just saw this morning that a bill was passed to outlaw no search narc warrants.
Yeah, that was after the
Kentucky
shooting.
Yeah. Yep. So that's what I'm talking about. Those kind of things.
Change.
Yeah.
And it gives you hope.
You got to see change, not promises. You got to see change. And I think this mass demonstration around the world has brought us to the light that something's got to change here. And we just need to get the right power in office to influence
and create positive change.
Help make positive change.
I know when you talked about the education and, just the wisdom that you're sharing, Janelle Ward just typed up, that as a young Black woman in America, she needs to constantly educate herself on where we've come to see where we're going. And she is going to keep this movement going. That's a promise, I guess, from.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need that from all the young people and whoever is able to do what they can do, to keep it alive, talk about it, talk to. I tell you one thing I can feel around since this movement,
That was
just
Janelle Thomas
around,
that said that. Sorry.
so,
That was Janelle Thomas that said that.
oh,
Sorry, Janelle.
just around QLI, I can feel a different atmosphere because people are talking more about, and I think it's since Pat letter was sent to us, people are talking more about what's going on. I It's always been quiet around here when there was something happened that, especially to a black person or shooting or something like that. It was always quiet. But people are talking about this. They're asking
Yeah.
questions about it, and so they're more involved. So I can see change is coming.
Yeah, I think even from a executive leadership team, I think it's been conversations about, it's not just about this that we're going to keep on talking. When it comes to the plight that our Black people are going through, it's also our LGBTQ,
Yeah, right.
community that we will have to stand up for. We have to fight for those who aren't able to continue to fight for themselves and have a voice for everybody, because those are people that come into our gates and make a stand for what's right and what's unjust, and we will continue to fight for that justice and speak up when people who don't have a voice have been wrong. And I think one of the things that people had even had a question on, is should we be having this conversation about race in America and things like that? Is it like talking about politics? And I think I shared a thing on, maybe it's because we don't know how to speak about it, and maybe we need to learn how to have this dialogue
Yeah.
without you know invoking things that are more hurtful. It's just about, let's lay out the facts and let's have a good dialogue, and hopefully this conversation, and people will come and reach out to you and say, Rudy, how can I be helpful? How can I change what's going on in my community, in my household? So I think dialogue is critical.
Well, I think speaking out and talking to each other is a learning experience. Like you say, um, yeah, it's different when you involve politics, and I wouldn't want to do that. I think we just need to talk more about what can we do to help and to keep this movement alive more than anything else.